All right, so I'm going to do my best not to overly rant about this. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been announced that there is from Chris Carter, who did an interview, that there is an in-development version of the X-Files being rebooted with Ryan Coogler set to direct or be showrunner with a more diverse cast. And before we get to that, I just want to point out that that is not the problem. That could be a problem, theoretically, if they even managed to get past the first 5,000 hurdles. But the simple fact of the matter is, the X-Files was a once-in-a-lifetime lightning-in-a-bottle show in which it didn't even have super high ratings the first season. I think at the end of the first season, it was like 300 out of 301 shows, and it still got renewed. And it became a cultural phenomenon due to a number of reasons, and the most important one being the chemistry between David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson as Mulder and Scully. And here's the problem. You could right now get whoever it is. If we were to take a study, like a poll from all of culture, who is the best male actor, who is the best female actress, and we hired them, put them in the show, it wouldn't matter, because the best actor and actress in the world doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have the same chemistry that Duchovny and Gillian Anderson had on the show. I don't think it's possible. And then when you tie in the fact that because of Ryan Coogler's involvement, because of the concept of diverse casting, because it's a reboot of a project that is so overtly loved. Oh, and we got a $20 super chat here. It says, are you guys going to discuss about the massive school swatting today, or should we tune into Timcast IRL tonight? You should, in fact, tune into Timcast IRL tonight. We are going to stick to the pop culture here. I'm going back now to my rant. All right, guys, look. Imagine this right now, right? You're the casting director. We talk a lot about that here on this, like how important casting is to Hollywood now, whether it's diversity quotas, DEI, equity, all that stuff. Fine. You go and you try to cast two of the most iconic characters in the history of cinema, and you have the added pressure of society saying you have to hire just the right people. And then when you find those people, if you can find those people, you have to then say to them, now replicate the chemistry of two actors who are so beloved together that they created that they were part of a franchise that spanned 2+ decades, where they were essentially one of the introductions of many to the concept of shipping. What actor would want to actually try to have to do that? And who the hell in their right mind would think that it was actually going to work? It could never work. I'm sorry. Like, I know that Jacob in the chat was saying, white pill me today, Brett. I can't white pill you on this subject, dude. It can't work.
Well, here's the kind of gray pill, white pill take on this is the reboot, and there's nothing good about it, right? But what they don't realize is characters, like actors, become the characters. Like you can't just put anyone. I don't care how skilled and talented they are. There are certain people who we could talk about getting typecast, right? Because you do so well in a role that people can only think of that character. You are no longer viewed as a human or a regular person in society. You're viewed as that character. And for better or worse, that's what the original X-Files was. They created those characters and the immense popularity that followed the show.
They actually, all things considered, both of them managed to break free from that role in later years. Gillian Anderson went on to have a very successful career. She was in The Fall. She was in Hannibal. It was great roles in both of them. Duchovny obviously went on and did Californication, which became a second career for him.
And also, I think he was, I could be wrong, isn't he a sex addict in real life?
Yes, he is. Right. So Moody, Hank Moody, is essentially in a lot of ways based on him. Look, the X-Files came around at a time in the 90s, first of all, conspiracy theories was a fringe concept which captured the public interest. And the mainstream media at the time was able to use it in a way that was less like they didn't incite you to judge people based on this. It was a fun concept that they were able to use on a show that was based on aliens and government corruption. The funniest thing about this is also X-Files was a show that was extremely distrustful of government without being partisan.
Yeah.
It did not pick sides. It basically said, look, the government wants to have all the power. They want to control the technology, and they want to cover up the existence of extraterrestrials, even though Mulder would tell you, you as a citizen, you as an individual have the right to know. I don't know if that actually, Tim talks about zombism, right? Like, I don't know if the average, media zombie person who's just taking in everyday like legacy media content, I don't know if that resonates with them anymore. I think it resonated with people in the 90s. I don't think that concept, I think if anything, they would be on the side of the FBI.
Right.
They wouldn't be on the side of the good guys in this show.
Well, we were talking about last night how like old wives' tales are dead.
Yeah.
Right. The internet came out and there's no mystery. There's no fun anymore. And that's why Serge posted the meme, the actually meme. Like that. There's, it's so tough because they're gonna say one thing and someone's gonna be like, well, no, I don't agree with that, or no, that's not actually how it is. It's like, dude, it's a show, it's entertainment. Stop thinking and trying so hard. It's not that serious.
I mean, my favorite part was like when they brought the X-Files back for season 10 and 11. They say, think of those seasons what you will. My favorite part is like the X-Files essentially doesn't need to exist now in the age where like half the episodes of the X-Files is Mulder seeing an alien and Scully being conveniently unconscious or not looking. Now it's just, oh my God, an alien, click.
Yeah.
You can write around that, be like the beams from the spacecraft block your phone from taking photos.
Well, what's the monster that doesn't show up on camera?
I don't know. But okay.
But anyway.
In general, a ghost wouldn't show up on camera. In general, the other thing about this is like it's kind of what you said. The world now, because of the internet, because of technology, because of all the ways in which we one another connect to each other, it's too small now. Back when the X-Files came out, the world was vast and unknowable. And they would travel to these small towns, which all look suspiciously like Vancouver, Canada. Funny how that works, because it was filmed in Vancouver,
Cheaper
Canada.
to film there.
My favorite part is also like how all the cops in these small towns all have suspiciously Canadian accents because it was filmed in Canada, so they use like local hires.
Well, I've said that before, man. Like,
hold on, we're gonna hold on to that thought from Steve Ryman. He says I got to be careful about this. I got to read it through. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, I can do it.
And feel free to edit wherever you feel necessary.
Okay, there once was a lady from Dallas who used dynamite as an elongated shaped thing, right? So they found her TID easy in 12 different cities and her porthole at Buckingham Palace. When life gives you lemons, be glad it wasn't her piece. Hey, Kellen, what's up, Steve? Bro, come on, you got it. Like, I love the creativity, I love the rhymes, but man, we got to play by the rules.
I'm gonna put you in charge of $20 of any and all $20 super chats for the best one because you would do that better than me. Back to your point.
Yeah, I was saying, as an American, you're growing up with this history of like, we want to be frontiersmen, we want to conquer what hasn't been conquered, and growing up, that's what they teach you. And now I'm looking at the world, and I'm like, even Antarctica is owned by countries. Yeah. There is nowhere left to go. Like, it's just going on your point of like, everything's been claimed.
And that mystery was what made the X-Files work.
Exactly.
Here's the other funny thing. If you guys don't know, if you guys ever watched the X-Files, there's characters named the Lone Gunmen. The Lone Gunmen got their own spin-off series, and in the pilot episode of the Lone Gunmen spin-off series, it involved a hijacked airliner going into the World Trade Center, and it was filmed and put out 6 months before.
That's crazy.
That happened. And a lot of people believe that contributed to the show being canceled.
What do they call that? Conditioning? Social conditioning?
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, here's the other thing about this. Directing, like Ryan Coogler, if he's the showrunner, he's not going to be directing every episode. Great directing can't fix this because there's too much to compare it to. It won't work. The better thing for them to do, if they wanted to try something, if you're going to ruin our childhoods or at least ruin our young adulthoods, I didn't actually get into the X-Files until years later. I was still pretty young when the X-Files came out, right? But I talk about this because I love X-Files podcasts and I love hearing people talk about the show. I would rather, if they're going to try to ruin a story or a TV show that I'm also fond of, you're better off trying to ruin Fringe. I think you'd have better luck trying to reboot Fringe. I still don't think it would work. I don't think Hollywood's capable of pulling it off, but you're probably more likely to be able to find some type of actor akin to John Noble as Walter or Joshua Jackson as Peter or Anna Torv as Olivia, there's probably a better chance of finding 3 actors that could pull that off. And a lot of people, in a lot of ways, believe that Fringe actually was a better and more consistent version of The X-Files because The X-Files had a very big hit or miss ratio between its Monster of the Week episodes and its, overarching mystery plot. Like, the thing is, like, when you're young, you love the overarching mystery because, it's big and it's different and it's scary. But as you get older, you learn to love the Monster of the Week episodes more because Chris Carter and team just seem to have better luck working on that. I also would ask, if they're going to have Coogler involved, why not get the rest of the team involved? Because most of the people that were involved in that show, not just Chris Carter, but the other writers and directors, they were all the same people that wrote Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. They're still working in Hollywood. If you got them involved. Also, I better not see some lame remix of the X-Files theme song.
It's going to happen.
Don't
well.
do it.
It's going to be like a trap.
No.
It's going to be like a hip hop version of it.
Look, it's like, okay, look, when they remade Hawaii Five-0, they originally made like a remixed version of the theme song, and then they said no, we're not doing that. They just used the original.
How do you feel about that reboot? Because I don't remember that being controversial.
No, I love that.
And it was also a show that was 4 decades, 5 decades old. So it's like, okay, maybe it does. Like, that's a little bit more understandable if you want to bring it back. Like, I would even understand them redoing The Wizard of Oz in modern cameras and everything. Not retelling the story.
Leave that alone, too.
But what I'm just saying is that makes more sense than doing Scooby-Doo and Velma, where you completely cut the dog out of the storyline. And, oh, my God, don't get me started on that.
I think there are some untouchable classics that they can't redo. Like, they're honored.
They never, they still haven't touched Back to the Future. And I assume that will end up happening one day.
Oh, man. Maybe they're waiting for everyone who loves it to die. Well, here's what happens if they don't touch
it. It becomes a horror movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like Winnie the Pooh. There's another one I'm forgetting about, but they're just making all these re-envisioned horror movies from like children's, like very old movies.
Yeah, but even that, but that's a very big change. They're not readapting the same thing. They're actually changing the material in a way that at least requires them to be creative.
Right.
So I'm okay with that. I think they're better off trying to do Fringe. I just love that the idea that in the age that we live in, where everyone in Hollywood says trust the government, unless it's one political party or the other, the idea that they could do a evergreen bipartisan distrust of the government type show starring FBI agents, which they just don't have the writing ability or the nuance to pull it off. And I don't think that there are actors. Like if I was an actor, I wouldn't want to be asked to try and recreate the chemistry of David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson in that show.
Right.
And you're better off just trying to create something new. Like, I know that that's annoying that we have to keep saying this, but you're better off putting your efforts towards creating something new.
I've never been in Hollywood, so I can't begin to know really how it works. But maybe it's, I'm trying to just cut them as much slack as I can. There's not much, but I'm trying. Maybe it's where this is their one chance. This is their one shot at a major project, and they're going to go with something tried and true rather than trying to be creative and take a risk. Maybe that's the case, but we need to encourage people to take risks because success isn't easy.
Yep.
And like Brett, one of the things that you've said that has stuck with me is good art is not common. Good art does not come around often. I'm like, isn't that the truth? We expect it, but no, it shouldn't be all the time.
It's also that way more of it is funded now, so it's like you're seeing a bunch more swings and misses than you saw before. In the chat, Bryson's Folly mentions that they made an Alex Jones character played by Joel Hale in the original, in the extended seasons. The funny thing is, Dean Haglund, who plays one of the lone gunmen, he's actually been on InfoWars.
That's funny.
So just imagine that, like that at a time. And I remember he was on Kumail Nanjiani's podcast, The X-Files Files, and he mentioned that, and it was just. He mentioned that at a time years ago where the culture just wasn't what it is now, where we're like, if he said that now, he would probably have to like apologize for saying that he was once on the podcast.
We got a 20. It will fail. says Shane Wilder. I grew up with the X-Files, the typical Catholic upbringing. Here's X-Files, here's The Exorcist, but stay away from that Disney-ish. I hope Mary gets better, but until then, here's one for the boys.
Boys.
Thank you.
Look, I'm gonna follow this one down. Like I've tried to be very fair. I don't think it has anything to do with diverse casting. I think that Gillian Anderson is a redhead, so that was inevitable either way. They would try to get rid of, like, at the very least, they would get rid of the redhead in the show because Hollywood hates redheads because they're very bad and they're very mean people over there in Hollywood. So I don't think so. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can recapture the magic. I actually didn't hate season 10 and 11, but I'm also kind of a sucker for, like, you know, there are some good episodes. There are some good concepts in there. Whether the execution was as good as the originals, I don't know.
I will say there's a void, I believe, right now for a show similar to this, like a detective whodunit of the supernatural, of the mysterious, right? But don't just... like, you can't just take what's already been done. Like, Better Call Saul and Heisenberg was a good example of Breaking Bad, of where they took just a side character that was kind of loved. Better
Call Saul, written by the people who wrote The X-Files.
Way.
Like, a coincidence? I think not. Here's the other thing. Another show that I think that they could try, if they want to try another reboot. There was a one-season show that nobody liked, based on the book series The Dresden Files, starring Paul Blackthorne. The books are actually relayed by James Marsters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer fame. They would be better off trying to redo that show. The Dresden Files, it's about a wizard private detective who helps the police solve... I was just started re-listening to the audiobooks last night. When I got this notice, I'm like, no, I am not watching an X-Files reboot, and I'm not going to like it. And so I started thinking about all of the bad reboots that have been done, and remembered that they tried to once bring the Dresden Files live action, and it didn't turn out well.
And it's not just reboots. It's like when... what's it? Ghost, the show Ghost. It's a BBC show about a couple that owns a house full of these comedic, like,
there's an American version too. Sorry,
the American
Rose
version
McIver.
Stinks.
You don't like the American version?
I don't like it. And the same thing happened with
it's got Rose McIver, who's she's va-va-voom. So
I just hope. Have you seen Wellington Paranormal?
You've told me to watch that.
Yeah, so it's a cop, like a buddy cop show where they're like going and dealing with monsters and zombies, and it's kind of ridiculous. But it's like one of those. I'm like, I just know they're just going to completely steal it and bring it to American television because we aren't talented.
Yep.
And I'm just dreading it, you know.
I mean, to be like, a lot of people don't know a lot of shows of ours are actually being brought in other countries too. The Mentalist got its own version, like a Swiss version of The Mentalist, or Danish. Like when it might have been Danish, and I asked because I think it came out at the same time as we got The Killing, which was originally a Danish story that was adapted here, so it could have been that.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that quote that America's biggest export is culture in Hollywood, but not anymore, man. Not anymore.
Speaking of which, guys, go and check out The Killing. The show does a fantastic job of taking an actress named Mariel Enos, and she's beautiful, and they make her look just absolutely just plain and like down. Like, it's the makeup and wardrobe department in that show, the set design, it's bleak, it's dark, it's the story of who killed Rosie Larson. I recommend everyone check out at least the first 3 seasons of that show. After that, it's hit or miss. Also, by the way, you should get the first 3 seasons right. I don't want to hear none of this. People are like, oh, like the show gets really good by season 3. I'm like, I'm not.
Dude, they say that. I'm gonna upset people with this. They say that about Supernatural, and they're like, "Nah, you just gotta wait till like season 7 is the best season." And I'm like, "Dude, I am not watching.
Too long to wait. Way too long to wait.
7 seasons." I'm like, I get the show. I've watched 1 or 2 seasons. I understand the show.
I watched like 1 or 2 episodes.
Cool.
It's very.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.